Welcome back to another episode of the Football Pundits, and things are getting intense. The last game week of the English Premier League. Let's not talk about the top two because that's well and done a long time back, and we're done with pep rotation and flopomania and all that rubbish. Let's get into the meaty bit, right? All the possible permutations and combinations for the top four. Before I go into that, we have a very special guest with us, Aditya Reds, aka Aditya Rathod. He is the beating heart of the Manchester United supporters club. Not only that, he's a world-renowned editor. He's a god when it comes to setting the mood before a Premier League weekend. We love him and we believe in him. Coming to this week's nomination and combination for top four, almost 9 possible scenarios with Manchester United making it or not. Chelsea needing maybe just a point. Leicester City bottling it after being third with almost 10 points ahead of their rivals. Aditya, I'll take it straight to you.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen and who is best placed to take the Champions League position?
I think it's going to be difficult. Tomorrow is going to be a pretty epic finale for the season. Personally, I think United and Leicester will draw. It'll be a 1-1. And Chelsea will bottle it to Wolves because I think Wolves are in a great form. And Chelsea's defense, we all know the crazy defense that they have. And especially if Kepa starts, then the game is over. I'm 100% sure he won't start. But I feel that Chelsea might lose tomorrow. Wolves will win. United, Leicester draw. Both will go through. And yeah, happy days.
And that's a good point. That a lot of people are definitely saying that Chelsea will bottle it. I don't know if I'm so convinced myself. All the Wolves are a tight defensive unit, right?
Yeah.
Coming into Kern, just the core of this fixture. Now, as per a manager point of view, who is it a bigger loss for missing out on the Champions League and who will face the most pressure here? Not Lampard, certainly, right? And maybe not Rodgers. So
it'll be Ole for sure because Rodgers has anyway come out and said in the press himself that while Leicester want it, United need it. Ole has come in. He spent a fair bit of money with Van Bissaka, Maguire, and now Bruno in the summer. While fans do believe in the project under Ole and seeing where this is going, Frank Lampard had a transfer window ban. He's just come in. Thereby, that pressure is sort of taken off him. He's gone into the FA Cup finals. He's given youth a lot of chance, which is unheard of at Chelsea. So I think that way, the most pressure going into this final day will be on Ole. Like if there's one manager who has the most to lose by not qualifying, the most eyeballs will be on Ole, and also just because it's Man United. We don't know who we were up against. Even if we were up against City and City were to miss out despite all the spendings, the focus would have been on United just because it's United.
Exactly. I 100% doubt that. And Abhishek, coming to that point and adding more to it, when Ole took over the job, right, even though the club was in a bad spot and Jose run it to the ground, the focus immediately was on Ole's credentials, how he's not really up for it, and a lot of negative media, and wasn't like any positivity to it. Versus a Frank Lampard, one season manager with Derby in the championship, and they're like, oh, he's the next messiah. Don't you think it's a bit unfair that Lampard gets away a little bit? I think performance has been good, but when they started off.
Absolutely not. So I'll just tell you how the media portray Man United and why it's also unfair to think that United are always portrayed in bad light. Look at the three teams battling for that third and fourth place: Leicester, Manchester United, Chelsea. Right? Everyone's talking about United. Everyone's talking about how United deserve Champions League this year. They deserve Champions League this year. Going by numbers, United don't deserve Champions League. We have won the least number of games compared to Leicester and Chelsea. We won 17, they won 18 and 19. We have scored we have scored lesser goals than Leicester and Chelsea this season, 67. We've scored 64. We have drawn as many matches as both of them combined. They have combined drawn 14 games, we've drawn 12 games. So where I'm coming from is, no one's talking about that. Everyone's taking it. So if you actually think of it, if United don't make Champions League, that should be the most likely outcome given the larger circumstances of how all three teams have played in the league. But fact of the matter is, most amount of pressure is on Frank Lampard. That's unfair. Most amount of pressure should be on Ole. There is no pressure on Brendan Rodgers. When that's also a bit unfair, there should be pressure on Brendan Rodgers. He's absolutely bottled it. Before Project Restart, Leicester were a given. They were absolutely third. We were fighting for fourth. They have bottled it. So I don't know. Somewhere I disagree, when you say that United or maybe Ole doesn't get or gets as much. So that's where I'm coming from about this top four. If United don't get it, it's bad for United fans, but hey, that's expected outcome given numbers.
So Aditya, coming back into the technicality of the table right now, based on what Abhishek and Karan have also said, pressure aside maybe for a little bit, if United do make it to the top four, do you see this as a building block, or do you still question Ole's credentials for me? Because I think it shouldn't be doubted. If he gets fourth, stop it right now. Discussion over for a while.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think even if we don't get top four, I think we've seen enough in the season to know that the progress has been made for sure. I mean, you look at the defense only, the goals that we conceded last season compared to this season, we're like 30, 35 goals. We've less conceded. So that is the one of the biggest plus points of this season. The front three, they have started now again to attack and kind of gel together. They've scored more goals than the front three of Liverpool. That is a huge statement of intent on Ole's side that he knows his probably first 11, 12 players. The problem starts for him when you go ahead or when you talk about other than the first 11 of United. That's where the problem is, and that's where he wants to address it as well. Where if we get Champions League, we will attract better players. We can then let go of few of them and kind of build his vision for the team, I guess. So 100%, I think that coming with the way we have performed this season, I think he's done a fantastic job. Yes, we should have won the semi-final against Chelsea for sure, given the form that we were in and given the shitty defense that Chelsea had. But apart from that, I still feel that we can still go and do well in the Europa League as well. Probably go and win that because we might be the favourites to win it. I think only Inter Milan are the only one. It's a strong team which I feel might give United a challenge. Otherwise, I think it's for us to win it. And going into tomorrow's game as well, I feel we will. I think we will make it for sure because when you look at Leicester's performance as well overall, they are not going into the game with any confidence given what has happened with Tottenham result. And for us, if we get the first goal, I think the first goal tomorrow will decide everything for all these four teams. Whoever gets the first goal, the mental psychology of the team will kind of take over, and we might just go through.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, Aditya. Karan, I'll come to you in a second. I'll lay it off to you. Now that we've spoken about United, and Aditya has been a positive outlook, not in terms of a great result, but just enough to get Manchester United through. Karan, talk about a little bit about Chelsea before we move into the other clubs that are Wolves and Tottenham fighting for the Europa spots, right? Because a lot talk about Spurs as well. Spurs kind of have bottled it too, and we've not really covered Jose Mourinho, right? What about Chelsea, Karan? Do you think they're done enough to be in the top four, looking at the fact that they've also blown results like Sheffield United and West Ham themselves?
Yeah, Chelsea have been blowing hot and cold. And see, this is where I think I'm just going to add also to Aditya's point of, United's progress through the season can be seen and stuff like that. But I think where we still lack and where then the other clubs are also lacking, which is why there's still this fight going on despite the points gap that was there a few weeks ago, is mentality.
Yeah.
None of these teams are showing that champions mentality. It's not good enough for United and Chelsea to be doing this fight for third and fourth. Both these clubs are ones who need to be having this mentality for going one. And United now we've seen for 2 seasons we're faltering again and again and again and again. So what will come down to tomorrow, I think, will be teams' mentality. I think that is what sets the tone for me. A win might be scrappy. I don't care how that win comes tomorrow. None of the teams will care whether it's a 1-0 or 5-0 or 3-2. It doesn't matter how that win comes. It'll come down to mentality. And unfortunately, just seeing how Chelsea reacted to Liverpool midweek, I just had that feeling Chelsea sort of have that mentality a slight bit more sorted right now than United do, at least in the attacking sense of things. Defensively, they're all over the place. I think at least the mentality, what, no matter what, we can go out there and score and we can get that done. And I think that's the slight edge they carry into tomorrow, which is what I'm scared of.
In fact, I kind of agree and disagree with you. I agree that the players showed up on the field. I felt Frank Lampard buckled under the pressure on the sidelines. He got into a spat with the Liverpool bench. He ranted about it after the game. That's the kind of guy who has kind of lost the plot. When Jose would do that, they'd be like, oh, Jose is losing the plot, right? So again, Lampard just gets no criticism for that. Anybody else would have been like, Ole would have said that, would be like, oh, Solskjaer lost the plot, blah, blah, blah. Let's move aside from that. Abby, we've spoken about Chelsea and Manchester United. What about Jose Mourinho and Spurs? Big things were said that once he takes over, he'll make them probably a little more competitive after January. But after January, they dipped even more. What do you think about them and their chances for now and next season?
I think Jose has demonstrated, right, that he clearly needs transfer windows to build his squad. He's not a good inheritor. He's not someone who will take a squad, strip it to its bare bones, and then sort of, start building on that and giving results. He's always needed time. He's always needed. So I would maybe rate Jose Mourinho next year, same time. It'll be 12 months of him having his full-fledged, transfer window. So I don't know. My take on Jose Mourinho is that I think he'll get it right at Tottenham Hotspur. Daniel Levy is a very smart man. The two of them could clash because they've got two extremely sort of volatile personalities. But so did some of the previous owners, and Jose has still done well for them. Pretty much.
To the Spurs bit, because I think there's this whole conversation of Jose has not done much and all of that. But honestly, when he arrived, Spurs were 14th and 8 points behind Arsenal. They are 5 ahead of them now, and people are saying Arsenal have done well under Arteta. Since Jose has come in, there's only 3 teams that have done better than Spurs, which are Liverpool, City and United. Yeah. So while I myself am not the biggest fan of Jose right now, just because the style of football he plays, I think he implodes the club around him. I think it's also unfair for us to say he's not done a job, because with what he inherited and with no real transfer windows, he's actually the 4th best team in the league after he's joined. So I think we need to take that Jose criticism a step back and actually see, you know what, as Abby said, let's give him some time. I think it's unfair to sort of...
Also, yeah.
And he's taken 13 from 15 points, like Karan said. Their last 5 games, they've, I think, won 4, and they're also unbeaten in their last 5.
So I would say also don't forget that they were without Harry Kane and Son and Dele Alli. Now that if United are without Bruno, Rashford and Martial, I feel we are almost...
And they didn't replace Christian Eriksen. I think Eriksen was a big loss. He was one of their best players, according to me. And
I would see United being in the the bottom 10 without those 3 players, right? So I do understand that it was a tough time. Before we move on to the bottom half of the table, another mention to Wolves. And Aditya, I'll give this to you again. Wolves, if they do beat Chelsea, by the way, will secure a Europa League spot for themselves, which, yes, they are in Europa this year, but to consistently finish in the Europa League in European qualification with the squad that they have, with the players and the manager, the way he's drilled that defensiveness into the squad, it's really not bad.
Yeah, I think Wolves have done spectacularly well. I thought initially when the season started and they're having decent results, I thought it would kind of wear off as the season went on, but they still have kind of, kept that momentum. And to be honest, their season started, I think, 1 year ago with the pre-European qualifications that they had to play. So to be consistent for such a long season, they have done tremendously well. I think the manager is also one who's quite an underrated manager. I feel tomorrow he will definitely make sure that his team doesn't lose the game, because defensively I think they're so strong. They've, I think, lost only 8 games, I think, in the league, if I'm not wrong. So that makes another question mark to Chelsea as well, where Wolves are also in good form going into the game. So I am assuming that, and they also know that Spurs are also in good form. So if Spurs win, they will overtake Wolves for that Europa League spot. So Wolves also have a lot to play for and to make sure that they don't lose the game to Chelsea.
Yeah, of course. Also to close that bit off, the winner of the FA Cup and the League Cup kind of also get a spot in the Europa.
Yeah.
Now that City has definitely won the league and then the top 4, 1 spot just open house for an English club. FA Cup, again, if Arsenal win that, then 1 more spot gets reduced since they are out of the top 8. So Spurs and Wolves would want to be sure about their 6th place, right?
Yeah.
I'll just add one thing, Hani. I'll just add one thing, which is if you look at Wolves' form over the last 10 games, right? This is hope for Leicester and United fans. Wolves, in their last 10 games, don't quote me on the exact stat, but I think they have won a majority of their away games in their last 10. I remember them beating, I think it started with Southampton 3-2, and then they drew at United, if you remember, on the 1st of Feb, just before the break. And then they beat Spurs 3-2, and then they beat West Ham 2-0 away, and then they beat Villa away 1-0. So they've shown some pretty good form away from home. So that's some hope to take from this
Let's
fixture.
hope that continues tomorrow.
Yeah. And let's not forget, Wolves traditionally, since they've come to the Premier League, have been taking the big teams, on, like taking that weight on, and they're getting those 1-1s and 1-0s. They're good at doing that. They're good at shutting down attacks very well. So moving on to the relegation fight and to the bottom of the table. Norwich were done and out a while back, and they just progressively gotten worse. So we won't talk much about them. It's sad that we would like to see the kind of football they were playing in the start to hang around like Fulham last year, but doesn't seem to work out for them this year.
Timu Pukki bubble.
Yeah,
the biggest bubble the Premier League has ever seen.
The FPL
It
bubble.
burst and how?
And coming now to Aston Villa, Bournemouth, and Watford. Now, Aston Villa, to me, 2-3 weeks back, were down and out.
Yeah.
They now have it in their hands when they play West Ham, who are now safe after the draw with Manchester United. So I do see West Ham not having too much motivation to maybe winning that. So if Aston Villa win that by a decent margin, they will be safe. That means Watford and Bournemouth will be out. Now, for Bournemouth to go through, they have to hope that they firstly have to beat Everton, and they have to hope that Watford and Aston Villa lose. Kern, who do you think is going to stay in, and who do you think is going to be the unfortunate loser?
It's so tricky also because the goal difference here is nothing. Villa just have a one goal difference, either minus 26 and the other two are a minus 27. So that makes it even more tricky. The only thing where I think Villa have an advantage is the team they play. They're playing West Ham, as you said, who are safe, who have nothing to play for. There's no fans in stadiums for them to put a show on for the last day, blah, 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 none of that. So just by that means, I think Villa have sort of got it, because also Watford are playing Arsenal and Bournemouth are playing Everton. So just seeing the opposition and all of that, I think Villa are the ones who might just nick it.
Did we say something very similar for the United West Ham preview, that West Ham would not be up for it? They've pretty much survived relegation. They have a plus 13 goal difference. And then we saw the West Ham that came and played. Tight, compact unit, very, very solid. So I don't know. I don't buy into this thing that they're not going to be up for it. If anything, they're going to be...
I think that comes from the fact that just that every team that plays United nowadays is extra motivated to play United. I think they'll also give it David Moyes coming in and telling his players, you know what, this is for me, sort of a thing.
So where I come from is West Ham have taken 7. West Ham have taken 7 points from their last 9. So why would they? So clearly they're also on the rise, right? Clearly they're also showing some good form.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you, Abby, only with that last game. It wasn't really West Ham were that good. If you look at the amount of time some of the West Ham players got on the ball, they almost didn't know what to do with it because they didn't expect it.
I often also believe that if you say United didn't play well, it's also because West Ham didn't let United play well, which is kudos and testament to a side like West Ham.
We had a discussion about Chelsea as well. I told you Chelsea will get pummeled by Liverpool. Liverpool decided to take the foot off at 3-0. Otherwise, they would have been pummeled 5-0, right? I understand that you're saying that give credit to West Ham and Chelsea. They do deserve it.
Yeah.
But if you look at the fact that
So where I'm coming from
they were gassed.
So where I'm coming from on relegation is, I'm just saying that I think Aston Villa West Ham is going to be a far more dangerous game than we're making it out to be. But I still think Aston Villa will stay only because Watford are playing Arsenal. I don't see Watford getting anything out of that.
Which is the point I'm making, like seeing the oppositions and seeing the positions they're playing and then comparing where they are. Just by that comparison, we'll have the easiest fixture, which is what.
So my personal take is the points will not increase or decrease for the bottom 4 going into this game week. I think all 4 are going to lose. I don't see Aston Villa beating West Ham. I don't see Bournemouth overturning whoever Everton they're playing, and I don't see Watford beating Arsenal.
So then, who do you think is going to go out? Because that comes down to goal difference. So who loses
Watford,
by
Bournemouth.
lesser?
So if the table doesn't change, Watford, Bournemouth join Norwich City in relegation.
So you're saying West Ham won't smash Aston Villa 3-0, and Watford will lose more than that, right? Otherwise, the goal difference is just 1.
Yeah.
So I guess this discussion, gents, has gone in much more intense than the top 4 did, very surprisingly. We are predicting now, this was against my earlier belief, which I put out, that Aston Villa, Bournemouth and Norwich will be the ones to go out. Aditya, before we move on to the last bit of this, which is the Golden Glove and the top, the Golden Boot, right, which is important, again, coming into the European race as well. Do you think, apart from Manchester United and Leicester City, anybody else is the team to worry about next season? As a small comment to build up to.
As in
Newcastle.
Newcastle depends on what happens with the bid. But I think overall next season, other than these Leicester City, I don't see Arsenal challenging, going to taking that next step and challenging for the title or challenging for the top 4, because they still have another season to go. Arteta also has a lot of problems with his defense again, like Chelsea. Chelsea have already kind of invested quite a bit, and hopefully they'll invest some more in the defensive side of things to make sure that they have a good season next season. So I don't see Leicester as well. Now, Leicester has obviously, have a good team and have some very young players, but they still are depending on Vardy to score all the goals. If Vardy doesn't score, then Leicester, are nowhere to be seen. So for Leicester, for sure, it will be to, make sure that they get a proper striker in, because Vardy is not going to continue to keep on scoring goals every season, 20-25 goals. That tank has to kind of, stop. So apart from them, I think I still will be worried with Spurs as well, with Jose. You don't know Jose Mourinho. Jose Mourinho is a crazy ass manager. Obviously, everybody has kind of told him that he's no longer the same manager. I still believe there is a guy there who can win titles. Obviously, he has to change his own way of thinking and how modern football works. All the time having fights with players of his own team is not going to help him in the long term. We saw that at United and what happened. There is a chance that could happen very well with Spurs as well, with Ndombele and his conversations that keep coming out where he's not happy with the manager. So I think these teams are always going to be there with a shout. And who does the business best in the transfer market?
In the coming transfer market now.
That would make a huge difference.
Right. And Abhishek and Karan, I think let's close off this discussion today by giving us your take on who's going to get the Golden Glove and who's going to get the Golden Boot and the motivation for that.
So I in fact, in my ending notes, I want to give credit and I want to pay a small tribute to Pope, who's been absolutely phenomenal, irrespective of whether he wins the Golden Glove or not. He's been absolutely phenomenal for Burnley this season. Without him, I was just looking at the numbers and all of that. He's had 15 clean sheets this year, right? This season, on the same level as Ederson. Without those clean sheets, he has... Okay, sorry. Let me structure this. Without those clean sheets, Burnley are the only team outside of the top 6 that are in the top 3 or top 5 in number of clean sheets. Without their clean sheets, they've only scored 42 goals, right? That puts them in 12th place. So it's almost like saying that Nick Pope alone has gotten those 3 extra places for Burnley, which is one player and that to a goalkeeper. So I think that's just to tell the world how phenomenal an achievement Nick Pope has really sort of done this season. So for me, I really hope he gets the Golden Glove. But
so almost like David De Gea in 2017, 2018 for us, right? He single-handedly got us those extra 3 spots.
Yeah.
Karan, coming to you, Vardy, what Aditya spoke about, the reason why Leicester are where they are. He is on the top of the Golden Boot. He looks like he's going to get it. Do you worry that Maguire coming to Leicester will be a little shaky and Vardy might pick up on that? Is that a worry for you and will easily take the boot?
No, I think I'm actually seeing Danny Ings as someone who might just, easily get 2 or 3 goals on the last day. He's 2 goals behind Vardy.
2 goals behind, yeah.
He's 2 goals behind him.
They play Sheffield at home, you're right?
Yeah, so I can easily see him getting 2 or 3 goals on the last day, Vardy getting none, hopefully, because United will sort of go into this just wanting to shut the game down, unfortunately.
Vardy always scores against us.
Hopefully, I see it as a game of Vardy. And I see probably in the end Vardy and Ings sharing the Golden Boot, which I think will be great because, as Abby said, for someone like Pope to get it at a team like Burnley is phenomenal. I think that's the same thing with Danny Ings in a team like Southampton, who were crashed 9-0 in December to react and where they are right now. Danny Ings has a huge credit for that. I think, which is why I think Danny Ings will be phenomenal in a league that's seen Liverpool and City score freely and go crazy. For Danny Ings to get that will be absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
definitely will be. I think, Aditya, you want to add something to that before we close the discussion?
Yeah, speaking about Vardy, I think I'm worried about his pace tomorrow against Lindelof and Maguire. We have to be wary about that because I think that's how Vardy scores his goals and he's always scored, made those runs in behind and scored those goals. So if he can stop Vardy out, then hopefully United will, go through tomorrow.
Yeah, Aditya has given us his 100% prediction. Abhishek and Karan, actually, let's give us your individual takes as well. 3rd and 4th, who is it? Quick answers.
Manchester United 3rd and Chelsea Football Club 4th because I think United will beat Leicester tomorrow.
Karan.
United, Leicester, just a dream scenario.
So I'm going to go with what I said in the very first episode of Football Fund. It's the reboot, where I said Leicester will have a terrible fall, just about make it to 4th. United should be 3rd. On that note, I'm going to end this segment. Thank you so much for being Aditya. It's always great to talk to you in general about anything football. This positive light hopefully will carry us through till Monday. Yes. Everyone watching this, please hit us up in the comments. Do not forget to subscribe and like the video. Let us know what you like, don't like, agree with our opinions here. If you don't agree, especially, please go at it. Our Twitter handles are right here. See you in the next episode. That will be the review of this season. See you.
Subscribe.